Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this draft analysis for the Virginia Victinis uh, for this new season of the Pokemon Masters League. Yeah, so this is going to be the second YouTube upload league that we're going to be doing. We just drafted for it and very excited. It's a little bit more unconventional than some other leagues, most other leagues that I had done. Uh, with a few things that I'm going to talk about. But anyway, I never went done one of this, so don't make fun of me if this sucks. We're forced to do that. So here we go. I gotta try to be fast. I really don't have much to say. Anyway, let's take a look. Um, so on this draft, we had to draft 10 Pokemon, and instead of going by points or by standard tiers, the league has its own tiers. They go from 1 to 5. We had to drive 10 Pokemons. We had to drive one from Tier 1, two from Tier 2, one from Tier 3, I believe, one from Tier 4, one for Tier 5. Then we have some free picks as well. Yeah. Okay, without further ado, we have, I believe, pick number 13 out of 16 coaches. So I wasn't very hopeful. There was some very broken stuff in the draft, but yeah, I wasn't very hopeful about what I was gonna get. And then we went and grabbed this monster. Yup. Don't ask me how we got Ferromosa at tier at pick number 13. Uh, this is usually banned in most leagues unless it's Ubers. And if this was allowed in any other league, I think it will go either first or second. So yeah, we get Ferromosa, which is great. I'm excited about using this Pokemon. I had drafted it once in a Wi-Fi draft league, VGC season before, and it was not as good as in singles. It has some fun stuff in doubles, but anyway, we're here to talk about it. Why I drafted it. Well, number one point, of course, because it's broken. That's beyond explanation. I don't need to explain any more of that. But anyway, base 151 speed means it's extremely fast. So most weeks I can even run either Adamant or Modest. And with both offensive stats being identical, they are extremely he hits extremely strong. Um, from both, again, like I said, from the attack and the special attack. Yeah, it's true that it's paper thing. I mean, you just look at it on the wrong way and it will probably break. However, that gets somewhat mitigated by the fact that it has stab U-turn. So you have to hit it before you can kill it. So if this thing comes in, either kills something or U-turns out into something else, this is just a great Pokemon in my opinion. He has great coverage. Besides the fighting and bug stab, he also has poison coverage for fairies. He has triple axle for most annoying flying types or dragons. So yeah, and on the special side is actually pretty good as well. It gets Quiver Dance, which is scary. I had to face this team before when I had to prepare for Quiver Dance, and that was not fun because already it's extremely fast. I guess the only downside is that it usually relies on Focus Blast, but other than that, yeah, no, it's fantastic. And it also gets Rapid Spin, which is, I guess, decent. I mean, I'm probably not gonna be using Rapid Spin most of the time, but on this generation, Rapid Spin got buff, and now it not only has a decent amount of power, but it also boosts your speed. So we could use that tech that you usually see people use with X Drill to boost your speed and then be unkillable. And then Beast Boost is just going to boost either its attack or special attack or speed. We can EV this thing whatever we want. So yeah, this is a great Pokemon. You're seeing the shiny in the screen because I'm planning to bring my shiny Pharmacy to every single match. She is the captain, and she's gonna put on work. I guarantee you that. Anyway, so for pick number 2, we just decided to go. We didn't have to draft in the order of the tiers. However, I decided to get something that pairs well with Fermosa, and in my opinion, uh, Cantonia and Slowbro pairs great with Fermosa because it's bulky. It receives fire. Is bulky enough to take on most flying types for Braver. Every draft needs a bulky water, so he fills that role. Is a fantastic pivot with teleport and regenerator for Formosa because Formosa doesn't want to be taking hits. With this thing, just comes in, takes a hit, goes out slowly, and brings his Formosa to open more holes in that team, which is great. I also like that it gives me access to Trick Room, which is an option that I'm sure some people are going to consider when they're facing a Formosa. Um, so yeah, this thing is very slow and is very good at stall in terms of Trick Room, as well as another mechanic that I haven't mentioned yet. But anyway, this thing gives me good status support because you can burn from Skull, of course, but it also gets access to stuff like Yan or Thunder Wave. Yan is typically not the best move, however, I might as well give it away. This league allows Dynamax on all three tier and below Pokemon, and that makes these leagues that makes the meta a lot more a lot different if you ask me. I play quite a bit from Dynamax from time to time, different leagues and whatnot, and Dynamax actually with a Dynamax meta actually Yang is very useful because if you manage to Yan the Dynamax Pokemon on the other team, well, they basically had to either switch it out, which completely wastes Dynamax, or they have to stay in and waste the rest of their turns of Dynamax with the being asleep. So yeah, Trick Room, Thunder Waves and Yan are very good options with this Pokemon. Um, and in all leagues, sometimes when I'm qualifier players, I like to make like at least one mean match, let's call it. So in that case, Slower actually gets some pretty interesting options for mean matches. Uh, I had used in the past to beat a Tapu Fini because the Tapu cannot taunt you if you are on tempo, which Slowbro gets access to, and you just set up on that. This thing also gets, I believe, Iron Defense and Body Press, and it also gets Belly Drum if we want to get really funny with it. So anyway, Slowbro is a great Pokemon, very versatile. I think that I'm going to have fun using it this season. And as you can see in the picture, he's ready to go. Anyway, for pick number 3, I wasn't messing around. I needed something that I could check stuff that just wants to ball switch on my team. And somehow, some way, Nidoqueen was on tier 3. So this is a fantastic Pokemon, arguably better than Nidoqueen in my experience, in my experience well. This Pokemon just blocks ball switch. Is a grounded poison, which you also want to have when you have like walls like Slowbro, so people cannot just toxic spikes on you all day. Um, it gives me access to stealth rocks and toxic spikes, which is great. Um, it has great coverage, such as the dual staffs. It gets ice beam, it gets flamethrower, it gets thunderbolt. It has a lot of very good moves that take advantage of the sheer force ability, which is great. I can run it defensively, I can run it offensively, which I had done in the past. It's a great Pokemon overall. It's very bulky. It has access to priority if I really need it, like Soccer Punch. It's not the strongest, but sometimes it will do. Sometimes you need a little bit more chip damage after a powerful Ice Beam to KO some stuff. And like I mentioned before, this league allows any Pokemon on the tier 3 and below to Dynamax, and Nidoqueen just happens to be able to Dynamax. So I don't anticipate Dynamax and Nidoqueen too often, if at all, but it's good to know that the option is there if it's needed. So that's great, Nidoqueen. I'm very happy with that. Uh, for my pick number 4, this is a little bit of revision in history, I guess. Mandibos wasn't actually my pick number 4. Mandibos was my pick number 6, and I completely forgot. This is a tier 2 Pokemon, and I decided to pick some stuff of the lower tiers first because I noticed some stuff that really standed out. Uh, so yeah, I picked this number 6. Let's pretend that I didn't. But anyway, yeah, I had used Mandibos plenty of times. This is an excellent Pokemon. Has a fantastic typing. Has a very good mix bulk. It's very hard to one-hit KO this thing no matter what you use, even super effective moves, which is very important in the Dynamax meta. It's another bulky pivot for Fermosa, which is great. Just comes in, either takes a hit and ruse or just U-turns out, which is great. It has reliable recovery in the forms of ruse, which is always good. It gives me hazard control, which I kind of need if you look at my team, because my only control right now is Formosa, and Formosa doesn't want to be wasting moves on rapid spin. So this thing, yeah, this thing just defogs any hazard stacking that my opponent wants to do. He has access to stab knockups, which is great. Always good to disturb the other team. He has access to facing. It gives me options again, either stall or setup, because he can face with whirlwind or he can taunt with a taunt. Um, and it's relatively fast compared to your typical walls. So yeah, that's a great Pokemon. And if I want to meme, like I said, I have some options like same with weak armor, which you take a hit and doubles your speed, and you can actually set up with Nasty Blood too. I have seen some of these sets to check some PB2 mons at the past, and it has been used against me. So yeah, this is a fun one. It's all reliable. It's probably one of my most dragged Pokemon. I kind of wanted to go with Umbreon, but I decided going with this. I think this is a better Pokemon overall. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. So for my pick number, well, okay, so this was my real pick number 4, and yeah, uh, Arctosoul is it's a little bit of a controversial Pokemon. It has the unresisted stab of Electric Venice. Means that I don't think there's a single Pokemon that receives both types, or a single type combination, I believe. Something maybe like Lantern, but just for ability wise. But otherwise, this Pokemon is just a monster. And whatever it doesn't hit with his stab, he gets decent coverage like low kick or stomping tantrum for those bulky steals. Uh, but the main reason why I drafted this Pokemon, because number one, he's tier 5, so I had to draft a tier 5, and this thing being on tier 4, okay, sure. Uh, but being that it's tier 4, it means that this thing can Dynamax, which is great because if it can Dynamax, it can set its own health. Say, for example, I'm on the field and I want to attack, I don't know, on ground time with my ice coverage, and my opponent switches out to the Pelipper to switch the weather and you know just take the hit. I can Dynamax. I can hit it with a Max Hellstorm. I got my double speed with on the Hell. I change the weather, and once the Dynamax is over, if still hailing, Volbeak is just gonna open holes on my opponent's things. I had to face this thing. I thought that it was completely useless outside of a hail thing, and I could have not been more run. This thing, if this thing comes in on your walls, they're gonna take a hit. Uh, so yeah, I'm very excited about using this Pokemon. Uh, However, if I don't anticipate that I'm gonna Dynamize it a week, his other potential ability is Ball Absorbs, which gives me another immunity to Electric, which is always great. So yeah, I'm very excited about how to use this Pokemon. Also, he's adorable. Look at him. I mean, he's just great. So yeah, we'll see how Arctosoul does this during this season. Uh, So for my pick number 5, but really pick number 6, but really my number 5, because I still picked this before picking Mandibus, is Heracross. Now I can sit here and talk to you about Heracross all day. He's a great Pokemon. Hits very hard. He has different amount of options. But let's be real. The reason I just gonna tell you the reason why I drafted this is because number one is tier 4, which is a steal in my opinion, and it can Dynamax. And this league had a very interesting rule that Ultra Beast cannot Dynamax. So if an Ultra Beast was on tier 3 and below, it couldn't Dynamax. I believe Gosler was the only one on that. But, the reason being Beast Boost, of course. But this thing has Moxie. And this thing gets Aerialis, which means it has access to max Airstream. So if this thing gets a boost, well, you can see what I mean. This thing is just gonna open holes, in my opinion. I mean, you get a source on this, and you get a one Airstream into something. You kill it, you get a Booksy boost, and you are a plus 3 plus 1. this Pokemon is gonna be a monster. And originally I wasn't. I wanted to draft it because I didn't think I was gonna get Formosa. I was looking at either Formosa or Naganadel because they were available. But then Naganadel got taken, and then I gotta take Formosa. So I was deciding maybe I won't take this, but then it sit there for several rounds. And realistically, a lot of times I just draft stuff because I don't want to face it myself, and I do not want to face this myself. And at some point, somebody was gonna draft it. So you know what? I decided to take it. Uh, if you play monotype, you know about double dipping or double downing in the same type, meaning your opponent might prepare for one of your threats and you may have one check, but once they lose that one check, they may not be able to take on the same thing, and kind of Heracross and Pheromosa, I think are gonna overwhelm defensively my opponents. I don't think that a single Pokemon is gonna be able to check both of them, especially if one of them can Dynamax. So yeah, Heracross. He is going to put on work. Just a few other things about Heracross, I guess. He's a good status absorber since he gets gods and hits extremely hard. He gets access to spikes, which is good because it forces a lot of switches. Um, and he's also a great Scarf option since he gets Moxie, Scarf Moxie. Everybody knows about that. So yeah, Heracross. Expect this Simon to put in a lot of work this season. Uh, so yeah, we're just gonna live in there chilling with Bulbasaur. But anyway, now that we're back to reality, like I said, my next pick after this was Mandibus, but we're gonna go to my next picks, which was picks number 7. Uh, and I grabbed Heliolisk. I noticed that my draft, even though I have an extremely fast Pokemon, in Formosa was getting a little bit slow to mid tier. Fastest thing I have is, I believe, 85 base speed. So I need something to close in the gap, I believe. And I still don't have an electric type. Uh, and this league, and typically when that happens, I just drop a Lecky and I just call it a day. But this league actually bans all legendaries and mythicals. So that's another interesting meta decision that we're gonna have to take into account. But anyway, I noticed that this thing was still sitting there as a tier 3, and he covers a lot of what I needed. He is a fast electric with a base speed of 109, which closes my gap a lot significantly. It gives me good momentum because he not only has access to ball switch like most electric types, but he also gets U-turn, which is I'm a big fan of that. I love you running U-turn and Zapdos because people just bring in the ground time think they can check it. So hopefully this thing can do something similar. If I really need a Dracovish switch or a check, this thing is immune to Fisher's Strength, so that's gonna be a fun match if we had to play the team that has it. But yeah, no, this thing is immune to water, which is great. For its called spam. And it has very good coverage. A lot of times, especially with hidden power being removed, electric types cannot touch ground types or they cannot do much to them. But this thing gets access to surf, it gets access to grass knot, it gets access to secondary stuff in hyper voice. You can even hit dragons with dragon pulse. So yeah, it has a little bit of a somewhat of a deep move pool, which is also good because it can also Dynamax. Which, yeah, if you bring, I don't know, Sun versus this thing, and this thing dynamizes with solar power on, this is definitely going to be open some holes. He's not the bulkiest Pokemon in the world, but that's fine. Sometimes you just don't need to take hits if you kill something first, right? And it also gives me paralysis for if I really, really need it, because, yeah, it has access to Thunderwave, but Thunderwave misses all the time for me. But it has access to Glare, and Glare paralyzes even ground types. So this Pokemon can be a real nuisance. So yeah, I expected to. It, I haven't used it much in the past. I expect it to be really fun to use this season. Hopefully, it can put a lot of work. Uh, but yeah, I was happy to pick out this, and let's go to the next one. So for my pick number 8, I realized that dragons are just gonna have a field day with me, so I needed either steel or a fairy type. And in tier 5, Aromatizo is still sitting there. Which I was a little bit surprised, especially with, I guess, mythicals and legendaries not being allowed. All the Tapu's gone, and I guess you know whatnot. I thought that all the fairies will go really fast, and I'm very bad at picking up good fairies. But this one is Aromatisse is pretty decent in my opinion. Like I say, it's a bulky fairy. It has so much special defense, special bulk that you typically will just run fully physically bulky and be difficult to kill on both sides. Um, this thing was sitting there, and also Alcremie was sitting there on tier 4, which I could pick either one because it was a pretty pick. But I decided to go with this one because this one actually gives me cleric support. It has access to Wish and Heal Bell, which unfortunately Alcremie doesn't. Um, which is great on a Dynamax meta because a lot of times when you're running Wish, you have to rush Protect, which is great for stalling Dynamax turns. So I don't feel too bad about having to waste a move slot on this Pokemon because most of the time we'll run it. It cannot be taunted or Encore, or there's a few other things because it has Aroma Bell as its ability, which is great. This gives me a reliable knockoff switching because those are important. Um, it generally doesn't care much if he loses his item. Um, it also provides me with more trick room support. So if I need a trick room in a pinch, this thing gets access to it. Being that it's tier 5, it can also Dynamax, which is great. I don't expect it to Dynamax, but if it happens, it happens. And I'm I like using Aromatisse because I had the perfect nickname for it. I'm a big professional wrestling fan, and my aromatase is a boy, so I just call it George, and he has the gorgeous ribbon. So every time I sends it out is gorgeous George. I think it's hilarious. Uh, so yeah, indulge me. But anyway, aromatase, yeah, it's a good fairy. It covers a lot of what I need. So yeah, happy to have it. For my pick number 9, I decided to go with Duraludon. Um, why? Because, well, number one, it completes my Fairy Dragon Steel core. It's not great, I guess, because, I don't have 3 Pokemon, I only had 2 Pokemon, but it completes it. It has a somewhat good synergy with Aromatisse, which is great. This thing is very bulky on the physical side, even without investment, which is good. Aromatisse can take hits on special size for days. So yeah, this is great. It gives me another Stealth Rocks user, so Nido Queen doesn't have to handle all that way by herself, which is great. This thing generally has enough room on its mood pool to run Stealth Rocks, so that's great. It's surprisingly fast. For a giant building, you will think that it's not fast, but it has 85 base speed. A lot of times that comes into play because a lot of fairies are slower than that, and this thing can just nuke them with a Steel Beam or something like that. So yeah, it's good. Um, Picture on your left. If that's the Gigantamax, I guess, Duraludon. We cannot Gigantamax on this league, but we can, however, Dynamax this team because it is a tier 3 Pokemon. So that's great. I had faced Gigantamax Duraludon in the past, and it's ridiculously hard to one hit KO from the physical side. Um, I love using Gmax Charizard, especially with Belly Drum, and Ajima's Charizard after Belly Drum cannot one hit KO this thing uh, from the physical side after Belly Drum, which I find ridiculous. So if this Pokemon has an Assault Vest and it decides to Dynamax, ooh, it's gonna be a hell of a time for whoever is facing it. Um, Arguably, the Dynamax version is better than the Gigantamax version because the Gigantamax move just reduces PP, while the Dragon moves from the Dynamax version actually reduces stack, which can be very strategic. And if you want to switch Fairy into this, careful switching into Gmax Steel Spike. That would not be fun for any Fairy. Uh, yeah, no, I don't think so. But anyway, so yeah, those are the first 9 picks that we have. The last pick, uh, this league has something quite fun called the wild card, which basically for the 3 picks, the 3 free picks from pick 6 to 9, you had to choose something from tiers 3 to 5. But on the wild card, you can pick a something from any tier. Um, so yeah, I'm missing some types. Originally, I wanted Cortana because I always wanted to draft Cortana, and I never drafted Cortana, but I figured that Duraludon was a better option for my team. Uh, Corviknight was also there, but I knew that another coach was going to take it. I guess shout out to ST or Horizon, who's in the league. He was the first pick, and he drafted his entire draft knowing that he was going to get Corviknight. So, yeah, we don't get Corviknight. Um, Ultimately, I decided to end my draft with a boom, literally, and we grab Blacephalon because this thing was still sitting there. Now, on tier one. Now, Blacephalon is not a perfect Pokemon. I know that I used it once before and I wasn't very great about it. And it's another Ultra Beast, which is weird. I had never drafted more than one Ultra Beast on a draft, so this is going to be an experience. However, getting access to more Ultra Beast means I get more Beast Boost, which, in my opinion, is always good. Uh, if you ever face a Gengar or a Gastier, you know how scary the Ghost staff can be. Um, for most teams, it's just the best staff on the entire game, and with no pursuit, it's basically free. Um, and the secondary staff, the fire staff, is no joke either. This thing hits like a truck. I like that its speed also makes my team overall faster at 107 speed. Uh, and you know that 151 special attack is ridiculous. But one thing that a lot of people overlook on this mon is the 127 attack, um, which is considered that's more than this thing if you ask me. And it also gets access to stuff like flame charge to set up or explosion. I actually used an explosion set one time to get rid of a Moltres, and it worked like a charm. So yeah, this Pokemon can snowball really quick. I like that it has access to trick as well, because that's a tech that I like to use a lot of times to cripple walls that try to set up on me. um, so yeah, uh, great choice Scarf there, great choice Specs Mon. Like I said, he can set out a flame charge with a in boost speed and then get a kill and boost special attack. And let's be honest, the shiny of this thing is absolutely sick. So I'm gonna try to be using the shiny as well since I have one. But anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much my draft. If you have I guess for the Pokemon Masters League this season, looking forward to getting that shiny trophy that they have for the winner. Um, but yeah, anyway, so if you made it all the way to the end of this draft analysis, thank you for watching. If you're my opponent, please go easy on me. I really want that trophy. But yeah, so here. Look forward to having the weekly battles uploaded every Sunday, I believe. Uh, and yeah, I'll see you in the rest of the season. The Victinis, thank you, and we are out. Bye.